Yes, and as I told you, I have some recent publications that help us to understand better humans, entrepreneurs, but humans, how we decide, how we judge when we don't have the truth, when we don't have complete information, and when we can use imagination to conceive a better future. If you allow me, I can say a little about this paper. Yes. The promise of fuzzy set theory for entrepreneurial judgment was written by me, Professors Mark Backhart and Brent Clark, both from United States. We spent about 5 years to complete this manuscript, this publication, with the Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice journal, which is a top journal in the field of entrepreneurship. Our paper contributes by presenting micro foundations and better explanations about how entrepreneurs judge when facing deep uncertainty. And we conclude that entrepreneurs, they navigate uncertainty. They do not reduce or try to control uncertainty, because in many situations, uncertainty is unknowable. You cannot reduce uncertainty to numbers and to probabilities. We can't. In such situations, entrepreneurs, like most entrepreneurs and CEOs, they use natural language to communicate their decisions, their imprecise perceptions about reality, and that shapes others, investors, stakeholders, shareholders, and most of us about new opportunities, new technologies, and new values and products that also will shape the way we live in society. First of all, in our paper, we built our ideas using fuzzy set theory. What is fuzzy set theory? It's a theory proposed by Lofizadeh, a professor of the University of Berkeley, California. Unfortunately, Professor Zadeh passed away in 2017. But I had the great pleasure to meet him 3 times that I came through in this conversation. A fuzzy set, which was proposed in the 60s, precisely in a paper called Fuzzy Sets by Lofizadeh, he explained that a fuzzy set is just implementing gradations, because most of the classes and categories, for example, inflation is too high, where inflation is a linguistic variable addressing linguistic values, like, for example, too high, or slightly high, or low, and so forth. And these classes, categories, like too high, they don't have sharp boundaries. They are not black and white events, like probabilities, for example. They are gradual. And most of our perceptions about a high inflation, they are imprecise. And they are better represented by fuzzy sets, unsharp categories, gradients, something gray between black and white. They're soft categories. So this changed a lot mathematics. It changed the understanding of the world, our perceptions. Then we can give a better explanation about how entrepreneurs judge, make decisions when they are facing complex situations, ill-structured problems, when they are not sure about reality, and even when they don't know if their ideas, like creating Airbnb, for example, we don't know anything about that. We don't have previous background on that. And this is very unique. Therefore, we cannot measure the probabilities of those outcomes. Then we use fuzzy sets in that situations. And fuzzy set theory gives us a very clear explanation about the process of representing imprecise perceptions and translating these imprecise perceptions in natural language heuristics. That's how entrepreneurs shape society, stakeholders, investors, and shareholders at all. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
And what was difficult in this paper? This paper was very, very difficult to write because fuzzy set theory, I did a review recently this year, and from the 250,000 citations of fuzzy sets and fuzzy logic, most of them, 80% or more, comes from the engineering, science, computer science, mathematics, and so forth. And just a little, 10%, comes from economics, management, entrepreneurship, and organizations, the social science, and so forth. And why? Because in the social science, there is a tradition that probability theory is what works. And it works very well. Probability theory solves many complex problems. AI uses probability theories and so forth. But there are some fields where humans play a much better role than AI or rational probabilities. And that's the field, that's the place for fuzzy sets. And this is new for social scientists. Despite of some social science are using fuzzy sets, we know that. And write a paper for social scientists in the field of management, organizations, entrepreneurship was a hard task to translate fuzzy set theory and all the mathematical concepts behind that into a language that we would not leave outside the importance of the technical side of fuzzy sets. We didn't lose that in our paper. And we translated that using our fuzzy logic mind to a language that the social scientists can better digest, understand, and apply in their fields. I think that was the great challenge, to be honest. When I decided to approach to Professors Mark Parkard and Brent Clark was because as an engineer from my first background, I couldn't translate this fuzzy set theory to the language of the management and organizational scientists and entrepreneurs as well. So Mark and Brent helped me to give this translation. And we spent lots of time working in this translation and finding a kind of application in a theory building field regarding entrepreneurship. And that was perfect. I want to add something. I want to add about the roots of this paper. As a teenager, I started reading about fuzzy set theory and fuzzy logic, and then in the university later on. Of course, I applied these theories and logic in robotics and explainable AI. But moving to the social science, as I told before, was a great challenge. And I did a lot of this work during my PhD on cognitive machines in organizations, where I also applied fuzzy set theory to conceive new AI addressing not only numerical and data power, but also common sense reasoning and natural language understanding and heuristics that humans use. So at that time, I realized that fuzzy set theory and fuzzy logic could be very helpful for management, organizations, and entrepreneurship. In 2012, I presented a paper at the North American Association of Fuzzy Systems. And that conference was in 2012 in Berkeley, California. Then Professor Lafizadeh watched my presentation and he accepted an interview about fuzzy logic and boundary rationality. And during the interview, he explained me that Herbert Simon was in Berkeley sometimes, but they didn't have the opportunity to talk because of time constraints and so forth. But we understand that fuzzy logic contributes a lot to boundary rationality. Boundary rationality regarding the cognitive limits of humans when deciding, when judging in organizations. Fuzzy set theory and fuzzy logic is very good to clarify and to represent how humans translate imprecise perceptions in natural language, and how this natural language leads us, humans, entrepreneurs, to approximate solutions. They are not optimal, not the perfect rational ones. They are just approximate. They attend and satisfy human needs. That's very important, especially when you have cognitive limitations and time constraining. But the problem is not regarding limits of cognition. I think something that fuzzy logic brings to boundary rationality, fuzzy logic adds more for boundary rationality, is the understanding that humans compress, condense meanings that's coming through imprecise perceptions, unsharp concepts. Humans condense this in natural language to overcome cognitive limits that today AI cannot deal with that. Indeed, the AI today and the AI designers, most of the corporations are designing a kind of AI because still have limitations to accept and understand fuzzy logic. That was a common sense debate we had this year in France in an IEEE fuzzy logic conference. So fuzzy logic adds a lot to boundary rationality to management organizations and entrepreneurship research. for sure. And our paper is starting this contribution to explain how entrepreneurs judge, what mechanism and what micro foundations are really behind the human reasoning and human understanding and judgment when facing deep uncertainty. And when I talked to Jade in 2012, in that interview, that opened my eyes because he was very positive about the connections of fuzzy logic and boundary rationality. Indeed, he conceived fuzzy logic, fuzzy set theory, especially to help humans, humanistic and social science, to better model complexities that the old-fashioned mathematics of probabilities and statistics could not do, because most of that probabilities and crisp mathematics, sharp classes, they were very good and appropriate for Newton equations machines of the old Industrial Revolution. But today, Professor Lafizade in the 60s, he understood that we should evolve this approach to address many of the complex problems of the social science and the humanities. Yeah. As future research avenues regarding the promise of fuzzy set theory for entrepreneurial judgment, I believe the paper has an impact on the whole entrepreneurship schools. Of course, in this paper, we focused on judgment. But I also believe that fuzzy set theory can play an important role in effectuation and also on the entrepreneurs as scientists. Regarding effectuation, I had some ideas years ago about how effectual entrepreneurship are using unsharp classes to describe and to connect to stakeholders, and so to shape new products and so forth. And I truly believe that I'll not say a lot about that. I'm writing something concerning this, but the effectuation entrepreneurship can also receive a lot thinking how fuzzy logic can better give micro foundations about how effectual entrepreneurs connect the ideas in the middle of scarcity of resource and so forth. And entrepreneurs as scientists as well, I think they can conceive the entrepreneur's mind as a process, but also based on imprecise perceptions, better described by fuzzy sets and possibilities. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to thank Professors Mark Backhart and Brent Clark for their work and for many of the advisements they did during the paper. They were very professionals and they know a lot about uncertainty and entrepreneurship. So their collaborations as co-authors were fundamentally to this paper. And I'd like to thank a lot the Entrepreneurship Theory in Practice journal, especially Professor Richard Hunt, for all of the recommendations and the patience during the writing and during the publication process of our paper.
And now, please present yourself to me.
I'm Farley Nobre. My work explores how artificial intelligence shapes and transforms organizational cognition, behavior, and decisions, especially when facing deep uncertainty and sustainability grand challenges. My background was influenced by my BS and Masters in electrical engineering and AI, with contributions to explainable AI using fuzzy logic. And my software engineering experience with corporations opened my mind on how organizations really behave and act, facing uncertainty. Then I started my PhD in England, in the University of Birmingham, and I completed it in 2005 with a new thesis on cognitive machines in organizations, anticipating today what is the cooperation between humans and AI, and how this symbiosis of humans and AI shape decisions and organizational structure and intelligence.